Hi, I'm Nico. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, super interesting. I think is gonna help a lot of you think about photography in a new light, pun intended. Because I hear from a lot of people that there is a struggle to pick your own work, to be editors of your own work. What makes one picture better than another, especially if they're very similar in subject and content. But also some people who don't struggle with editing their own work, but struggle to understand the decisions of other editors. Why am I getting hired by these clients? Why am I getting featured by this Instagram account? Or why am I always being ignored by this Instagram account or these clients? So if you've watched this channel before, you probably get an idea that I'm somebody who likes to break things down into very measurable, objective characteristics. To me, this is the worst feeling in the world. Is imagine you pay a lot of money to go take a workshop with a famous photographer, and once you're there, it's all about feelings, and they're like, yeah, you have to feel this way to shoot this way. And this might be great advice to some students, obviously, that has helped them so far, but to me, this is the worst thing you can tell me, because I believe that photographs, I don't believe they have any magic powers or that they're like have anything going on that we don't see. I think anything that happens between you and a photograph is triggered by something that is on the surface of that photograph. That is the only information you get. So everything that you feel or don't feel about a photograph, to me, has to be traceable to something that's objectively on the surface of that photograph. So the objective way I came up to measure the quality of a photograph um, is this scale of emotion and information. I believe that these are the two elements through which a photograph can be successful. Either it provokes an emotion or it gives useful information. A photograph that doesn't show you anything and doesn't make you feel any sort of way is definitely a failed photograph. A photograph that can make you feel something or show you something efficiently is a somewhat successful photograph. And a photograph that can do both, efficiently show you information and make you feel, is a very successful, completely successful photograph. So let's look at a couple of quick examples to make sure we're on the same page about what I'm talking about. So here's a picture of a house, a suburban house by Todd Hido. Here's a picture of the same kind of house by Stephen Shore. So you can see the obvious differences here. Stephen Shore's picture is clearly geared towards information. He shows us the house, he shows us the house next to it, he shows us the street in front, he shows us it's probably some sort of factory in the back, or a power plant, I suppose. He shows us a bunch of the trees and the vegetations around. This picture is packed with information. If you compare it to Todd Hido, he chose to shoot it at night, which is a choice that he made, which means that the trees and all the vegetation around turns dark and is unidentifiable. The house itself is the main subject of the picture, but it is obscured by vegetation and fog, and it's partially cropped out. Yeah, we don't see the neighboring houses, and we don't get to see the street that this house is on either because of the nighttime. If this was a podcast, I would describe these two pictures, and I could probably describe them in very similar terms, except that one is packed full of information and the other one is packed full of emotion. Conversely, the Stephen Shore picture doesn't pack a huge emotional punch. I don't feel a lot when I see that picture. And Todd Hido one, while it's very successful emotionally, doesn't give me a lot of information. I'm really not sure where I am, even what year it is. Like, it's very poor in information. So that's basically what this video is about, putting images on two scales, one scale of emotion and one scale of information. Obviously, the dream would be to make a picture that is packing a huge emotional punch and giving a very satisfactory amount of information. I'm thinking of that picture by Alex Webb, which has always been one of my favorite pictures ever since I've been looking at photography, but I also realize now that it's a picture that is very successful according to the criteria I'm setting up. It's emotional and it's full of information. So as you can see, if you're not familiar with that picture, we have 6 characters plus a helicopter. They are arranged very neatly from left to right. Of course, we see a helicopter beautifully and obstructed. Sorry, we see the flowers, which somebody who's into flowers could probably identify. So even if you know nothing about this picture and who made it and where I found it, it's pretty obvious the scene you're looking at because it has all the elements. This is obviously a clandestine border crossing that went wrong. The trespassers are being apprehended by some sort of police. In terms of information, this picture tells the whole story. It's a very rich and full of information. In terms of emotion, you have the beautiful colors of the Kodachrome film, you have the beautiful end of the afternoon or early morning light, you have the emotion on the faces of the people, you have the flowers, of course, which are a very emotional subject that everybody connects to, you have those big dramatic clouds. It's also full of emotional elements. So this is why to me this is a perfect example of a picture that's extremely successful, both emotionally and as information. So this is our concept, and I'm going to put on a couple more videos about the mechanics of information and emotion respectively. But until those videos are out, what maybe you can do is think of the work of the people you enjoy and see, do they gear obviously towards one or the other. For example, a photographer like Stephen Shore, his work is obviously skewed towards information. He doesn't have a lot of very emotional pictures, but all his pictures are always presenting you with a very good amount of information. On the other end of the spectrum, somebody like Trent Park, the Magnum photographer from Australia, produces very emotional pictures, sometimes to the point that you don't even know what you're looking at. It's just pure emotion on paper. So if it's not something you're already aware of, start doing it. Go revisit your library or your bookmarks on, or just your Instagram list of people you follow, and try to be aware of these elements and try to put each photographer on one side of that divide or in the middle if you think they're successful in both aspects. Is this photographer an emotional photographer or is this photographer an information photographer? And once you have a bit of training, once you've played around sorting different artists, try to take an objective look at your own work and see which side of the coin you land on, and then you'll know that you need to work on the other side more to try to be a photographer that's extremely successful with both aspects. Also, have a look at editors. Each magazine has its art director, its newspaper, even a curated Instagram account. It's pretty obvious to see if an Instagram account only reposts pictures that are like extremely in your face and emotional, or the opposite if they post a lot of quiet pictures, but you always know exactly what you're looking at. So also look at that and try to understand what an editor gravitates toward and what kind of work an editor likes. And this should help you make better work, because that's always the goal, and put that work in better hands, in the hands of editors that are more likely to resonate with it. Thank you for tuning in. I'm coming out very soon with more on this subject. Cheers.